I look at the protests that I've seen, those on the Iraq War and on student finance. They've been lost, and I think young people are now thinking, well, we won't bother with that. You know, we'll just really power on and try and do well for ourselves.
Do you think that is a healthy thing? Do you think it's selfish?
I don't think it's selfish. I think actually we can take a real positivity from that. I think self-responsibility is so important, especially with finance. People really need to be taking personal responsibility for their own finance.
Rather than leaving it to some kind of, kind of collective responsibility.
As we heard on the video, they don't want to be falling back on the state.
I mean, so Sarah, do you think you did the heavy lifting then?
Well, I think we did the heavy lifting on social issues, right? And we were very effective in doing it. And partly the irony we were effective in doing it is not just because there were a lot of us, but because we grew up in a welfare state, which made us more equal and gave us confidence and gave us a safety net and made us good at protesting.
But do you recognise what Generation Y seems to be the kind of tenets of it now? Are these the tenets that attune to your daughters? I'm not meaning that in a negative way, but you have daughters. Does it feel more individualistic? Does it feel that actually they're out for something that's a different thing? They're not out for the kind of general good.
What it feels like a generation under siege, and not a generation under siege from social issues, but a generation under siege from economic issues. And those economic issues are so big that it's very hard to know how they can protest against them.
So what you're saying is that they're actually so desperate trying to get onto the jobs ladder, the housing ladder and everything else, they haven't got time to even talk about mainstream broad politics.
It's not even that they haven't got time, it's that the issues are so big, and when they go to the government's attitude is more, what can we do about it? It's too big.
I would absolutely agree with you there. I think probably most of the people featured on the video probably have no idea of the economic reality of their situation. What they have been very exposed to are very negative connotations of people who are on benefits. Programs like Benefit Street, projecting.
But does that mean then that they don't want to take part in the wider discourse in society? That they're too busy, selfies, online, blaming the baby boomers for drinking the well dry?
I think this is a view of this generation that older generations have created, actually. And what the younger generation hasn't seen is a world that they've lived in without the welfare state and without the NHS.
Yes.
And I think if they did see that and they did experience that, then their views might change.
But it's interesting because, we're now in a situation where there's different priorities for a Generation Y. And there is an ageing population, and as Lewis said, institutions like the NHS and so forth, they're not invested in them. So, what's going to happen when, we're nearly shuffling off the mortal coil? Will anyone be looking after us, or will we be out somewhere?
What I suspect is that there's one leftover social battle that the baby boomers didn't fight, and which we still have yet to win, which is the right to die. And I would actually suggest that, rather like your Peter Greenaway film,
to say he's already checked out.
Very few of us actually want to be infirm and badly cared for with dementia. We would actually like to make the final choice that, as up until yet we've... So what we're going to do is we're going to help Generation Y by deciding when and where we go. And as long as we sort out the inheritance tax, then maybe we'll hand on some money to help.
Would you actually like that, or actually would you like to think that you become more caring as you get older, and therefore you would happily look after the older generation? Or do you think they're going to literally have to get lost?
What I know is that pensions are going to get massively more expensive for the taxpayer in the state pension, and also the private pensions that young people are receiving are absolute chicken feed compared to what older generations have had. And we're seeing older generations retiring now, and they are on the breadline. What is going to happen to us? That's what we need to think about.
But Kirsty, the other thing is we have to know what we're attacking here. And when Generation Y talks so rudely about the welfare state and about benefit scroungers and the like, we have to ask some really serious questions, which is the welfare state didn't cause the recession that we're in.
But wait a minute, if these are things that you're concerned about, if you're concerned about pensions and welfare and everything else, why aren't you actually out there with placards?
Okay, I'm making my career out of writing about this and trying to get older generations to see exactly what's going on.
Katie's absolutely right. We managed to make protest work because we learnt it from the cradle to the grave. They've actually failed with two very important protests, so you can blame both political parties for that.